All right, kids, we're going on a wild ride today. Seventh chords. If you don't have a thorough understanding of intervals and of triads, abort mission, do not continue. Stop this thing right now, go back, make sure you know exactly what you're doing on those because those are the key to seventh chords, and you'll be hopelessly confused if you don't have a good understanding of triads and intervals. Okay, I'm going to go pretty fast through these. I have a 15-minute limit before this program cuts me off. Please feel free to pause at any time to go back and hear me say it again. And also, I don't want you to expect that you're going to know all the ins and outs of this by the end of this presentation. There are lots of types of seventh chords, and it can be kind of tricky, so I want you to just know that ahead of time and don't expect that you're going to know it by the end. Expect that you're going to have to go back a few times and really think about this and really memorize some stuff before you feel like you have this down. Okay. A seventh chord is made up of a root, third, fifth, and seventh. So here's the root, third, fifth, seventh. Think of it as a triad plus a seventh on top. This would be your triad. This is your seventh. Here's your triad, your seventh. Here's your triad and your seventh. Like triads, they're spelled with every other letter of the musical alphabet. C, E, G, B. I'm skipping one letter name in between each. F, A, C, E. I'm skipping one in between each. G, B, D, and F. I'm skipping one letter name in between each note. Like triads, seventh chords can be put in different inversions. So root position, we're going to deal only with root position ones today as we get to learn what our different types are. But you will see them in different ways. First inversion means that the third, this note, is the lowest one. Second inversion means that the fifth, that's this one, is our lowest note. Third inversion means that the seventh, that's this one, is our lowest note. The bottom note is the only one that matters when you're naming the inversion. The notes that are above the bottom note can be in any order. They're not always going to go E, G, B, C. Here's some examples. So this chord is this one. Everything's in the same spot. But you could also put it like this, and it is still a first inversion chord because E is still the lowest note. G is not the next note. G is way up here. That's fine. This is also a first inversion chord. E is the lowest note. Then we have C, then we have this, and then B is way up here. That's also first inversion because E is the lowest one of these four, and these four are the same note names that they should be. You could also have this first inversion chord. Different octaves are fine as well. Okay, the first type of chord we're going to talk about is a major 7 chord. It's built from a major triad plus a major 7th. Here it is. Sounds like this. I think it's quite happy to be here. Here's our C major scale for reference. So our major triad is built up of a perfect fifth and a major third. Then from the root to the 7th is a major 7th. That is how you make a C major 7 chord. Let's look at E flat on the bottom. There's our E flat scale for reference. From the root to the 5th is a perfect 5th, and the root to the 3rd is a major 3rd. That makes our major triad. Then, from the root to the 7th is a major 7th. E flat major 7. Last one, built on G. Again, perfect fifth, major third, major 7th from root to 7th. G major 7 chord. Okay, the next type is called a dominant 7 chord. You can think of it as a major minor 7 because it's a major triad with a minor 7th on top. Our major 7 chord sounded like this. Our dominant 7 sounds like this. The only difference being that the top note of our chord is a half step lower than it used to be. There is our scale for reference. We need still a perfect fifth and a major third. Still makes a major triad. Our top note is going to be a minor 7th above the root. C dominant 7. E flat on the bottom. We need a perfect fifth and a major third for our major triad, and we need a minor 7th on top. G on the bottom. We need a perfect fifth and a major third. That's our major triad, and a minor 7 on top. G dominant 7. Next type, minor 7 chords. It's a minor triad with a minor 7th on top. We need a perfect fifth and a minor third. That makes our minor triad. And from root to 7th is a minor 7. C minor 7 chord. With E flat on the bottom, perfect fifth, minor third, that's our minor triad, with a minor 7th on top. With G on the bottom, we need a perfect fifth, minor third, that's our minor triad, with a minor 7th on top. Feel free to pause if I'm going too fast for you. Minor major 7 chords. These are my favorite ones because they sound like a haunted house to me. So fun. Minor triad, major 7th on top. Sounds like this. Ooh, spooky. We have a perfect fifth again. We have a minor third again. That's our minor triad. And a major 7 on top. It's a C minor major 7. With E flat on the bottom, we have a perfect fifth, minor third, our minor triad is there, major 7th. G on the bottom, we have a perfect fifth, a minor third for our minor triad, and a major 7 on top. Augmented 7th chords are made up of an augmented triad and a major 7th. Here's what it sounds like. Also kind of spooky. We need an augmented fifth, a major third. That's our augmented triad right there, and then major 7th on top. C augmented 7 chord. E flat on the bottom, we need augmented fifth, major third, major 7th. G on the bottom, we need augmented fifth, major third, major 7. Fully diminished 7 chords. We normally just call these diminished 7s, but there is such a thing as a half diminished 7th chord, which is the next one we're going to look at. So let's just look at one of these. Okay, fully diminished 7 chord is a diminished triad and a diminished 7th. I have not taught you about diminished 7ths, but I'm going to teach you about them in just a moment here. This is what the chord sounds like. From the root to the fifth is a diminished fifth. We also need a minor third. That makes our diminished triad. From the root to the seventh is a diminished seventh. I taught you major sevenths and minor sevenths. A diminished seven is another half step lower than that. It's another half step lower than the minor seventh. So a major seventh is what this one is, B natural. A half step lower than that is a B flat. That's our minor seven. A half step lower than a B flat is a B double flat, and that is our diminished seven. And that works on all of them that way. So whatever the minor one is, lower it again a half step with the accidental, and that gives you a diminished seventh. C diminished seven. From the root to the fifth, diminished fifth, minor third, diminished seven. So it's two half steps lower than this. D double flat. G on the bottom. Diminished fifth, minor third, diminished seven. A major seventh would be F sharp, minor seven would be F natural, diminished seven would be F flat. That's how we got that. Half diminished seven chords. Okay, it's a diminished triad, just like the previous one, and a minor seventh, not a diminished seventh, a minor seventh. A fully diminished chord is this. A half diminished is this. Diminished fifth, minor third, that's the same thing, that's our diminished triad again. Minor seventh, E flat. E flat on the bottom, diminished fifth, minor third, minor seven. G on the bottom, we have diminished fifth, minor third, minor seven. Okay, here's our step-by-step. First things first, you have to have the chord in root position, stacked in thirds. Then you're going to look at your triad, root, third, and fifth. Is it major? Is it minor? Is it augmented? Or diminished? You can narrow it down to two options if you can figure out the triad. If you have an augmented triad, that's only used in the augmented seven chord. You're done. If you have a diminished triad, you know it's either going to be a fully diminished seven or a half diminished seven. If you get a minor triad, it's in the minor seven chord and it's in the minor major chord. If you have a major triad, you've got either a major seven chord or a dominant seven chord. So then you just have to look at the seventh. From root to seventh, you have a major interval, a minor interval, an augmented interval, or diminished interval. Actually, you won't have an augmented. Forget that I said that. It'll be either a major seven, a minor seven, or a diminished seven. Here is your cheat sheet. Okay. The type of triad you have, the interval from root to seventh. Here's the type of seven chord that you have. So, if you have a major triad and it's a major seventh from root to seventh, you have a major seven chord. A major triad with a minor seventh on top is a dominant seven chord. Think of it as a major minor chord, but don't call it that. If you have a minor triad and a minor seventh, that's a minor seven chord, and you get the idea. So I would recommend using this chart and trying to memorize it. This is going to be a big help to you. And that is seventh chords, my friends.